There, it's going. Hello, brothers and sisters. Here with my good friend Jeffrey Phillips, newly kind of met recently on the Paul Unslaved platform, and which inspired the title of this, another social experiment, but some actual uh, philosophical conversations too. I'm getting to know Jeffrey recently, and we're getting to know each other. He's got some cool stories, and we were kind of catching up. Where do you want to go, Jeffrey?
Oh, I don't care. It's just this is all just really funny. We didn't start off as allies. Um, but I never meant, like I always just I knew you were close, and I just knew you needed. I don't know. I was just kind of falling in line with the herd mentality of what was going on, and like um what I kept seeing over and over with you coming on the show was just kind of like, I was like, Jack just needs to figure out that he shouldn't care about what these people think. And I never meant any harm. I thought you were cool. I followed I followed you and watched your videos because I didn't, I don't I don't like Paul think like Paul right now, like he thinks I hate him. Like I never hated you, Jack. Like I might have said some stuff to you, and like some things are said, but it's like it seems like there's this really black and white, like, oh, you don't this like oh, you must just like have bad intentions or have like hate, or like, and it's like there's you can criticize someone without hating them, and like at the right time, some people just, a lot of people, what I've noticed, butt heads. You get a bunch of big egos together and they butt heads and they just don't like each other, until someday they realize, hey, actually this person's pretty cool, and even like the dudes on the panel, every single person on the panel, if I bumped into him on the side of the street, I'd be super stoked, and I'd give him a big hug, and I'd fucking take him out for dinner and like hang out with them. Like these aren't people. I don't know these people. B, they don't know me. But like we hang out sometimes on the internet. It's a little boys club that's cool. And but when you hang out and you get comfortable in a place like that, your worst comes out eventually. And so like I've it's easy to get caught up in the whole pack mentality, and just kind of, things can go astray without anyone noticing, because there's so many people that are just like, this is great, this is great, this is great, this is great all the time, no matter what. When you're exposed to that many people, and I've worked with a bunch of these dudes, and it's the same thing every single time. I just show up and I start getting attacked by people, and I'm like, what's up with these people? And they're like, oh, they're mad because like, and there's this whole pecking order, and it's been the same thing, the same group mentality. Like I've been in like the band scene and like the club scene in Hollywood, and then like the movie scene, and like I've been in all these different scenes, and I see the same thing going on, in like every single one of these circumstances, with some guy at the top who's drunken thousands of people with charisma, and it's like, um, I I didn't meet you. I didn't meet any of these people with bad intentions in the least bit, like in the least bit. There's actually like a lot more going on, like with my buddy Jake Lee. Jake Lee's like got a lot of stuff going on that not everyone understands. And like we were really trying, like he sent me to Paul, like as like, hey Paul, this is my best dude that I've known for the past 10 years, who's been consistent over the decade that I've known him, like, do some shit together, man. And Paul just did what he did, and that's why Jake went up there last night and was just like, bro, we were testing you and you fucking failed, dude. Like we were gonna, like, it's not a good, like, it's just not good, because like, Jake knows me as telling the truth no matter what. Like, I stopped working for Luke Radowski, and I stopped working for Adam because of their bad behavior. Eventually the behavior got so bad, I was like, see you guys. And then I walked in, and I was then I realized everyone around me was a fan of theirs, and they're all telling me that my experiences didn't happen. They're like, oh, they wouldn't do that. They wouldn't do something like that to you. Come on, listen to what he says. Like, don't. You're crazy. You're a psycho. You're the psycho, not that guy. Not that guy up there. You're the psycho. And I'm like, no, actually, I've seen through his shit, and but that wasn't even ever the intention with me. Like, I genuinely liked Paul's show, and I genuinely like Paul. And I told Paul, I actually put him up there. This is kind of shitty for me to say, but I don't see many people as like, you gotta really prove to me that you're a peer of mine, and like, I don't see many people, and like, I see a lot of people that are worshipped that I just don't respect, like, their message. I see big holes, like Paul was like, oh, this dude, like, seems like a peer of mine, that, like, and like, this dude might excel by taking a little bit of advice from me, who has, a person who has been a handler of someone exactly like him on YouTube, like a social media expert. Like, I know how to put people's stuff out into the metaverse. And like, I was never like, I just hit him up like, hey dude, you should try a couple of these things. And he was like, all right. And a couple of times on the show we talked about it, and he's like, yeah, like, everyone just do that for me. Like, like, and it's like, okay, well, I don't, I've done everything for everybody so many times before, and those people I did everything for completely screwed me. So it was pretty quick, to kind of see the dynamic. And I mean, it wasn't very quick. It took me a solid 3 weeks of watching the show just to be like, what is going on here? Because like, I went up there, and it was like Harlow and Talcott, and like, all these dudes just like smashing on Harlow and Talcott. And I was like, what is this Harlow dude? Like I was like, is this place an insane asylum? Like, is everyone up here absolutely crazy? And the more I watched, the more I was like, oh, it is like, kind of like, like a place for, broken people to hang out and kind of be crazy, but still get a little bit of support and not get completely rejected, and like being, people having to like come up and like I see the value in the show, in the format of the open panel, and like a bunch of people up there with different viewpoints on, whoever comes up and says whatever they say. It's interesting, but like, it could be used for evil. If not, it's like, it's just like the internet. Like, we could do amazing things, and we are doing amazing things with the internet, but you could also do awful things with the internet, if it's not wielded in the right way. But yeah, so I'm just seeing, I'm watching something like, 2 weeks in, Paulie's like, dude, you're gonna call me out someday for being a plant or a cult member. And it's like, well, I never even crossed my mind, those two ideas, like, in the least bit. And I was just like, whoa, like, why would you say that? I don't know. Me and Allie were up on the show, and he was just like, oh no, I think without a fucking doubt, you are going to figure me out. Because I think I came on the show, and Paul's like, oh, I don't look at anyone's videos. I don't look at any messages, anything like that. But he looked at my stuff, and he saw how deep I go on these bad behaviors, and he got worried, because on his show, he's got a bunch of yes men. And he's got a bunch of no men that still kind of show up and act like as yes men. So he's always going to feel like he's in the right. Just like after I get, after he throws me off the show, or I leave or something, all his yes men come in and cope with him, and they help him cope with the fact that he just got his own medicine given back to him. Because if you watch all these shows, I've triggered that dude more than he's triggered me. He doesn't know how to deal with me. I'm not one of these dudes on his show that is a broken, like, they keep telling me, oh, you're so insecure. And I'm like, no, no. If anything, that might be, that might be something we should work on. It's not the insecure. It's like, like the maybe a little bit of grounding work because of, the experiences I've had in my life. So, and like wherever, so it's just, so he started planting the seed. Oh, I don't trust you. And I'm like, whoa, why would you not trust me? I've presented I've been super, respectful. I've stood up for myself on my show, which everyone looked at as being narcissistic, but I was simply, like sticking up for myself, not letting people fucking argue with me or not interrupt me and things like that. So I see where Paul's like, oh, came on here and you're like yelling at people. I'm like, no, I'm sticking up for myself on a panel full of fucking monkeys, So Paul's got, so Paul tells me, I don't trust you. You're gonna out me as being this, that, or the other. And I'm like, why is he thinking that? That's a little strange, And then after that point, he was really fucking nice to me. And I started getting attacked more by like Moose and like all these dudes, because they're like, why is he being nice to this guy? He's not nice to anyone. From what I see, this is just my, I haven't watched the show for years. I'm not some Paul expert. I'm just watching this weird sociology experiment unfold before my eyes that is only reaffirming everything I've learned in my life. So, and then I got this, and so Paul's super fucking nice, and I'm like, damn, like he's like, and there was a show or two. I remember there was like one show maybe 3 weeks ago where everyone was just like, this is the best show ever. Even Paul was like, man, that was a great show today. Like everyone was, it was really, because it felt like the few things I mentioned to Paul, he actually considered. He didn't tell me he'd consider it, but in his actions, he actually did. Like he stopped, I was just like, oh God, looping on Talcott again. Like, oh God, looping on these nobody's fucking podcasts, like fucking A. Every time I've gotten next to one of these dudes, they're starting to dilute their message. And they're starting to start thinking about, like, oh, I have this large group of people, they're starting to dilute the message. And that's like what I'm seeing again. So he's really, really nice to me, and we're like, damn, and he's like, and that's when I bring up, I'm like, hey, like me and Allie aren't perfect. Like I'm definitely not perfect. I definitely have issues from my life that I am working on and have been working on for the last decade. And they're not gone yet. They might not ever be gone, but me and Allie get along. I mean, we've been together almost 3 years. That's like one of the longest relationships I've had in a long fucking time. If not getting close to being a record, and we get along very, very, very good 98% of the time, but that a couple percent of the time, we're just screaming at each other, and it's not good. And I don't know. I'm what's it called? With conflict, I close down. Allie's got a word for it. But I just kind of close down. I don't act out so I kind of close down when we're fighting, and she doesn't understand that. And we just we don't even know what we're fighting about anymore. We're just like locked up in this like nonsense. Like our brains are just like, like, there's nothing he can do except let things calm down and try and talk about it after. But, so, we have, we live in an RV, and like, we have a very different life, and, she's an athlete, and I also am too, but she's like far more devoted than I am. And there's like, we have a lot going on. And things need to be addressed, and things don't get addressed, and resentments pop up and stuff like that, like in any relationship or anything. And I've always, so when I was young, I went to a clean and sober high school, and we had group for half the day where we'd all sit in a circle and call each other out on each other's bullshit, basically.
Oh, wow.
We'd like raise issues, concerns, and we'd talk. And that's kind of why I'm so able to talk well, I think. Like on the panel, I just went up there and started talking, and everybody's like, oh my God. And that was the other thing. I was going up there and like asking, hey, Paul, like it would be cool to use you as like a third party when me and Allie really aren't seeing eye to eye. And he's like, yeah, that would be great. I'm really interested in doing stuff like that. I think people would learn, and it was like, yeah, cool. This really seems cool. And then, everybody's just like, man, it's so cool. You come up there and like, really, you're like really being honest. And I'm like, I haven't even said anything yet. Like, and everybody's just like, man, it's so cool. You're so honest up there. You got some big balls to go up there and say this shit. And I'm like, why is everyone telling me this? I'm just like normally fucking communicating. I get it's on a panel, but it was just kind of odd to me that everybody was just like, man, wow. And then me and Allie went up and talked. We talked a little bit. We talked about when she broke her collarbone, and Paulie was like, oh, and I was having the problem of like, hey, I feel like every time my girlfriend leaves the house, she's gonna die, like, because she rides her bike like a beast and she crashes often, and so I don't know how to deal with that. My only way of dealing with that is trying to get her not ride as much, which isn't necessarily the right thing to do, because that's going to create a rift between us, and so I've always been asking like my friends and like other cyclists, like, what do you do about that? And no one has an answer for me. So I brought that up that day. And it was like, it was like, okay, Jeff, you got to let Allie do what she's wants to do. That's her thing, and like the chat was just like, Jeff's trying to control her. And I'm like, whoa, like, okay. Like, so I had no idea, like there was like a lot of feedback, but it was mostly just like, let her do her thing. You're powerless. That, and just be happy every day you have with her, blah, 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 blah. And then it was cool. And it was like, okay, well, that was great. Awesome. I'd love to do this, once a week or twice a week or something, like, or not. I mean, it wouldn't be that much, but once a month or whatever, just to help out, keep things mellow between us, just so we don't get up to those crazy days where we're, super upset at each other, because we don't like being upset at each other at all. So then like a week goes by and Z shows up, right? And then like Paul goes from being this very nice, supportive listener, to whatever Z kind of influenced him to kind of lean towards the negative a little bit more, and go a little bit, and then because I was standing up for myself against Z, it just made him even more mad. So he started whispering in Paulie's ear, and then they started doing the thing. And that's what happened with Adam. And like, I've been through all that with so many dudes, like trying to like, get to be the right-hand man to some guy. And it's like it never ends well, because it creates this competition. And then like when you have, and so it just became this like, oh, let's do whatever it takes, no matter what, do whatever it takes to rile Jeffrey up, even if we have to like say the worst things in the world, which to me, like if you yell something at me, if it's true, I'm gonna react to it. If it's not true, I'm not gonna react to it. Like I'm not irrational. I have control over my emotions. I have control over how I understand words that are being said to me, and I understand why people say these things. And I understand, like when Thomas lashes out on the show, he just he just lost his partner, you know? Like, it's not because he doesn't like me or what I'm saying. It's, you know, like he's lost something and he's hurting. And while he has a really good support group, you know, he's coming to talk to some dudes, you know, that aren't a part of that support group. You know, like it's like a different, I don't know. So, yeah. So if you know, if you yell a bunch of shit at me that isn't on point, I'm not going to react. That's not me being a narcissist.
Right. You know,
That's me being a realist and being like, and the whole time that, you know, Z started just trying to throw shots in the dark at me, and I'm just like, dude, no. But if you want to know, I can tell you what I think I need to work on. And even if I'm not being honest when I tell you that, it's at least a beginning point for the dialogue in therapy. You know, like there's not a therapist in the world that would have you come into the room and you start telling them they're a narcissist and not ask any questions about them. Like,
did you see what they did to me? Paul and Z, they did that whole little skit of trying to describe me as a narcissist without them even looking in the mirror at themselves. It's like,
that's all I told them yesterday. I was like, dude, you guys, I just had this same exact thing happen to me in the same exact way, and it's happening again in front of my eyes. And like, regardless if I'm if I am a narcissist or not, you guys are being very narcissistic in your tactics at trying to control me and my girlfriend. They want my girlfriend to leave me, and they don't know why. Polly just wants a success story of a couple or two couples that were made of a split. He just wants these success stories so he could be like, look, I actually have something I'm bringing to the plate, not just the 3 videos that have some views on my YouTube of me getting arrested. You know, like that's why Paul has this whole thing where he's like, I don't care about what you've done. And it's like, you should, but it's not because he doesn't care. It's because he hasn't done anything. So he wants to take that argument out of the equation, you know, of like, oh, well, I don't care about any of your life experience because XYZ. Okay, you have XYZ. That doesn't mean it's right or true. It's like his whole not responding to people on Facebook. The first time I hit him up, I'm all, hey, bro. And he's all, what's up, man? And then I'm like, yeah, I watched your video with Padini. Check out this video of mine with Padini. Like, we could probably, you know, like co-create together or whatever. Like, and I just get no response. And it's like, okay, I that told me almost everything I needed to know, you know, like, okay, he's one of those guys, you know, so I have to already, that's like, okay, I have to tread cautiously right off the bat. And so, you know, and that started around then, when I started going on the show just to see like, what's up with this dude in this show? Cause, Jake, my buddy Jake, was just like, yeah, you need to go on this show. You need to talk with this dude and do some stuff with him. And I was just like, okay, you know, and then I went on the show and I was like, whoa. So anyway, so yeah, Paulie completely changed his whole tactics and, his whole demeanor, you know, all of a sudden, and all of a sudden it became, we're going to paint a straw man of you and call it all these things like the court does to us, you know? And this was like, when I was the entirety of the time I was working with Adam Kokesh, I was just seeing him do the opposite of what he talked about every day on his podcast. And I was just like, and I was having a big crisis with myself because I was just like, I need to stop helping this guy. Like, I'm watching this guy, you know, basically like destroy people's lives around him by intoxicating people with his charisma and getting them almost like completely dependent on him. Like, to the point where I watched, you know, like I've seen people like sell their houses and shit, you know, in order to like just after meeting one of these guys, just to like, oh my God, I'm friends with this guy now. This is my purpose in life, is to support this dude, you know, and like all this stuff. So yeah, it's just and it's not the same situation. I can't completely compare it, but it's kind of like crypto, you know, like every year the bull run isn't the same, but it rhymes, you know, and it's like these guys, I don't want, you know, like Paulie's his own person. These other guys they're all their own persons too, but there's a certain behavior that you need to recognize and prepare yourself to possibly be in a situation with that's very unpredictable, and if you're not confident enough, you know, you might not be able to deal with it, because I had to literally, you know, lose everything I had twice before I recognized what was able to recognize this type of person. And but I wouldn't. I'm almost appreciative of Paul for saying all that stuff about me thinking he's a plant, or me gonna be like, you know, he's planting these seeds in my head. I could have, you know, like it could have taken a lot longer for me to be like, because the first impression was most definitely, I've seen this before, you know, and that's not always a bad first impression. It's like, okay, I've seen this before in people I've done a lot of great work with, and I've seen this before in people that have completely destroyed my life. I mean, not completely. I can't say completely destroyed my life. I absolutely had part in it, but you know, didn't help. That's for sure. You know, definitely greased the gears of me hitting some lows that I didn't necessarily deserve. But I don't like using the word deserve. But anyway, so yeah, Paulie got some enemy images of me that were never there to begin with, and it all came out of his head. I don't know if he thought, you know, like he wasn't gonna. I don't know, but it seems very sus, you know, for him to have acted like that towards me. You know, just like you're gonna do something bad, and I'm like, dude, I don't do bad things to people. Like, so I talk some like and like all this vegan stuff I do, exactly what he's doing, like bludgeoning people with like the truth, and like not caring about their feelings, like, and then he's like, you know, and it's like, dude, I'm doing the same kind of thing, and yeah, I'm not popular because of it. I don't care, and I don't care because I don't care, not because I'm a narcissist. Like, it's really goofy stuff. But yeah. What's up, Chuck?
Hey, what's going on, Jeff? Jack?
What up, dude?
Hey, Jeff, I was just going to say, just from my own viewpoint, and I'm not kicking you or anything, but it seemed like you came in there with an edge that I was the number two to so and so and the so and so and the so and so. I'm somebody. I was in this rock band. I started this MySpace rock craze. I did this. I was with 300 women. It just came across as wrong to me.
I was being honest, Chuck.
Well, I'm just saying the presentation to me.
That's what the show seems to be for, to present your honest truth. So why would that seem weird to you? That seems like a problem with you, not me.
No. I'm just saying it was the way you presented it.
And most of that information came out because people were asking me questions.
I'm new to this community, so don't hold that against me.
I am too, and it's not a very easy community to read. And if I came onto the panel with an edge, it was because I've been watching the show and I felt like I might have to go up there with an edge. You know, if I went up there, and especially with Paul, like Paulie's a very dominant individual, so I had to get up there, and you know, I know it was pretty quick for me and Paulie to get in a little argument, but I defended myself, and it's like I don't know. I feel like a lot of people have judged me because I know a lot of people have judged me because I didn't react in the way they would have reacted, and I may have presented myself in a way they might have not presented themselves. But I agree with what you're saying. I did go up there talking kind of a lot of shit, but like,
Yeah,
I was
that
just
was
trying to be
my
like,
point.
Paul, like, I've been the handler of two dudes that were like major, media guys, and like they paid me to help them do certain thing, and like I was just, and also you don't really have time to say more than 2 sentences, so you got to like get to the point quick, like, hey man, I have some experience. It may look like I'm gloating, but I'm just like, hey, I get that I brought up Adam a bunch of times, but Adam, like I doubled that guy's viewership, in like 6 months, and Luke Radowski, like I tripled his viewership in 6 months, and like that's, if you don't want the advice, that's fine. Like I'm not butthurt because you don't want my advice. That's less time I have to spend on your life.
Well,
So
that's what came across.
no,
That's
I
all I was saying.
believe that. I absolutely believe and understand that. But it wasn't like I was like, oh, I'm so cool. But I could see that it may have come off that way, and I
Yeah.
definitely don't think that my first impression anywhere is very good. I understand that. I've had a lot of people be like, dude, I could not fucking stand you the first time I laid eyes on you, and the 20th time I laid eyes on you, and it's like you either, I don't know what it is, but it's definitely there. And I understand.
Oh, I know. I've been told 100 times that I could eat corn cob through a picket fence because of these teeth.
Yeah.
It's not my fault. It's what I was given. I have to live with what I was given. So I go on the philosophy, to thine own self be true. If I'm true to myself, then I'm not going to hurt anybody.
Chuck, that's what I've gotten from you in some of the chats, man. You got a good heart in you.
Well, I'm trying. I'm not perfect.
No, well, hey, stop denying yourself, and you'll.
I've never beat you up, Jack. Never.
I know. Hey, some of the things you brought up, Jeffrey, it's a common, the gaslighting and the manipulation, the false narratives over there. It's fascinating to me. I've learned a lot. I've learned a lot about sociology and psychology through watching.
Well, it was interesting because when I showed up, and I think once I had talked 3 or 4 times up there, and maybe like after because people can't kind of came out of the woodwork, and they're all, what Paul's doing here, and I'm like, okay, well, anyone like Paul would have a bunch of haters that are just, and that's been the whole thing on the show since I got on there, is look at all the haters, and so it's like I've had trillions of haters, so I get it. I like feeding them, but I was cautious at believing anybody that anything was saying, but then I started to notice everybody was saying the same thing. And it didn't seem to be in a very malicious way. It was just like, man, these people need to see this shit. Like these people that are coming up here that don't see it. And it's like, unless you've survived 1 or 2, you don't know what they look like, because they're really good at what they do. And like, I had just, before Ali, a few years back, I was in a really abusive relationship with a borderline personality woman, and she was like, I think like I learned from Adam, how to spot it, but then like I learned from her really how they think, and it's like they're not like these people are amazing people. They're loving people. They just need to figure out a way of controlling their stuff. And they need to kind of be around people that understand their thing too. And without being honest with yourself, that's never going to happen. It's just,
Hey, what you're describing, it's a common problem in our society. The insecure, they fight for control. Okay. And the insecurity comes from lack of self-awareness, lack of emotional intelligence. I'm telling you, this self-awareness, it is the key to our maturity and our path to ascension. Know thyself. You're not going to know what you're not paying attention to, Paul Z. You're not paying attention to your damn behavior and how you're treating others.
Yeah, self-awareness is key, man. Like that clean and sober school I went to, I took myself there like at 15, 16 years old. I found the place and took myself there. Like I was like, I don't want to be like, I had grown up with on my mom's side, I grew up in Orange County, California in the 80s at the peak of the cocaine fucking, like everything's crazy to teenage parents. And I saw a lot of serious things. And so when I started to see, at least the things in my family that I saw in others come up in me, I was like, I do not want to, end up an alcoholic, a cokehead, like all that stuff. So I went to that school and was amazing. Like, I feel like the tools I got there, I've never been able to use on anyone. Because I mean, this is like this is where I was, being honest with Paul, where I'm like, I don't know if it's me. I don't know if it's them. But I always feel like I'm being at least, like I see myself as being very open and communicative, but I'm always being accused of not being. And so that's it gets down to it. I'm just like, I don't get it. Like I was basically trained to talk about my feelings, by an education center. And I've been, I went to a personal therapist for a couple years. I went to therapists with, because of family court with my daughter, and and everyone's like, "Holy shit, man! Like you are really in tune with your shit." Like I went into my therapist's first day, and I'm like, "I'm here to heal intergenerational trauma," and this lady was like, she had no clue. And like she couldn't really even help me that much, because like she was just like, holy crap, like I've never dealt with someone, like that so in tune with how I feel and expressing my emotions. And then that's what I think's going on this panel. Is these people just don't know how to deal with me, because they may not have ever, because they are these broken, insecure boys, they think everyone is. And I'm just not that person. And it's fine. Like that's that, like then they're like, oh, well, why are you here then? It's like, well, I can't come on the panel unless I'm a broken, insecure boy that's gonna react to every bad, negative thing said to me, even if it doesn't make any sense and is completely irrational. It's just, I don't,
Can I ask you a question, Jeff?
Like I said, it's very amusing at this point. But like, I mean, you see me and Ellie go up there day after day. I'm just like Paul. I get loud when I talk, especially if it's something that's my shit that I really know about, but I'm not triggered. Like
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah, go ahead.
Is Allie an anarchist like you are?
Absolutely.
Oh, okay. I was going to say that maybe take the flag down and the anarchy stuff and turn it into a home rather than
I actually, Chuck,
anarchist center.
I saw your comment. You said that the other day,
and
I appreciate that. I didn't know that was you. I appreciate that, because that is never something
from the heart.
Yeah, that's not something I've ever taken into consideration. And I was like, oh, that was a really good. Like I got a lot from that, and I talked to Allie about it, and I mentioned it, and she was like, "Oh," but like we didn't finish the conversation. But I do appreciate you saying that. That was really, because
I'm not trying to interfere in your personal matters, but I know for me, coming from an alcoholic viewpoint, that I had to change a lot of things about myself and my surroundings in order to turn my house into a home.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I like, like I go up on this panel and everyone's like, take the fucking bun out of your hair, faggot, take that flag down and all this shit. And I'm like, fuck you. I'm not going to do what you tell me to do. But how you said that, Chuck, that was very constructive. And I absolutely appreciate that you said that, because that was very valid. And you were, I can tell it came from your heart. Like, hey, she might kind of be annoyed by this bright, obnoxious thing.
I'm just saying, if that's your persona you want to show online, that's fine.
Yeah.
But put it away and make it a home instead of a house, no matter where you're at.
I appreciate that a lot. Thank you.
Okay, like I said, I'm not trying to interfere or butt my nose into somebody else's business, because I'm not perfect. But I get up every day and I ask God, what can I do to be a maximum service to God and to others? You know, if I got something to share, fine. If I don't, fine. Just throw it in the garbage. I'm not trying to, because like I said, my life's not been perfect. Right now, I'm taking care of my wife, who has Parkinson's. My son's 13 years old. He's got a severe case of autism. I didn't ask for that, but I have to deal with it. I have to continue to live life.
Hey, Chuck.
Yes, sir.
I love you, my brother, and that question you asked is the right one. What do I do today, God? And Chuck, I want to offer you a different perception. You've been prepared. God's prepared you for that child and that condition around you. God has been preparing you for this your whole life, my brother.
Amen.
Okay? And we lose sight of that. We forget. Hey, I was thinking this earlier at church. I've been discussing presence with God, right? The Holy Spirit. You know, it's our minds. We got to stop believing that God is not with us. We got to stop believing that the love of Christ is not within us. Because when we believe, well, then the fears, they start to fade.
See, Jack, I've seen real demons. Everybody can laugh at me if they want, but I've seen the real demons.
That doesn't surprise me.
And I know that God does exist. And it's not my job to knock anybody down in this life. It's my job. If they're down, it's easier to kick them than it is to reach out my hand and help them up off the ground.
Amen. We're all in this together, trying to figure out how to be a human at this time. And what does it mean to be a human? What's it mean to be a man? What's it mean to be a woman? We were born into a world of deception where manipulators and gaslighters, they've succeeded. I think we've been prepared to confront the darkness, to confront the bullies. I think we've been prepared for this. We've been preparing for this our whole lives. I mean, why not believe that?
Yeah, getting back to the dudes on the panel, like you were saying, Chuck's got a good heart. Like all the dudes, like everyone that I've at least like observed on there has an amazing heart. But they're letting, they're enabling some bad behavior. And they have the power to make a difference. And we'll see what happens.
Well, this is what I think, honestly. I think I see personally, like you did, I see the talent in Paul and Z. I think their flair and their wisdom is a gift. But God puts heavy burdens on those with gifts. And we've got to figure out how to use our gifts.
I can't help but notice they're not watching the stream.
It's interesting, isn't it?
They were talking about it.
Yeah, but they aren't watching it. Paulie doesn't want me to repeat this stuff over and over and over on his panel. That's why, you know.
And I'm not ignoring you. I'm finishing up dinner, cooking dinner for the family.
Well, I was curious what might happen. I always am these days. I mean, seriously, as humans, we can take the wrong things too seriously. Hey, Jeffrey, I want to talk to you as a man, right? Your concern about Ali getting injured. What I heard in that is you've still got an insecurity within you about losing. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So if you can overcome and be comfortable without her, knowing just you that you've survived the loss of love, you've survived the loss of all this other stuff, you'll be fine and filled with love without her, then you have more gratitude. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I mean, it's like it's the fear of losing,
Yep.
like you talk about.
Face that fear and go within and ask yourself why. What the hell am I afraid of? What the hell? I don't have anything to fear. That woman knows what the hell she's doing. She takes care of herself. She's fit. She's been training, you know?
Yeah. Well, it's almost like the same thing as when someone passes away. It's like, are you sad because you're not going to see them again, or are you sad because they don't have life anymore? And I feel like with, like that's a solid question when someone dies, but like when it's with my girlfriend, it's like, you know, it's both of them. It's like clearly, it's both. So it's harder to deal with than just when someone passes away and you just can just, store it away and it just dilutes over time. It's harder, and it's harder definitely when it's like, as often as it is. But it almost doesn't matter that because it's like, you could not be riding a bike ever and ride a bike one day and get nailed, or you can ride a bike every day and not ever get nailed, So it's like, it's one of those things where it's, there was this a cyclist YouTuber, I hit him up and I'm like, dude, like on his show. And I was like, how do I get out? Like, I don't know what to do. She crashes and gets hit by cars like often, and he's just like, buy her more high visible clothing, like that's it. Like, and I'm like, that's not the answer I wanted. That's all the answer I have for you, because that's like, that's not there's no answer to that question. You got to figure that out your own, because it was my own shit for the most part. you know she beats herself up enough when she crashes. She doesn't need me doing it also, especially at that time when she's the most upset about it. So
Yeah, you need to be supportive, not
Hey,
against.
and you know what? You got to be careful, because if she knows you have that fear, she may carry a fear of disappointing you, causing her to get distracted and cause the worst thing that we don't want, right?
yeah, it's all like a loop where it's like, okay, I'm a like this is how I rationalize myself. This is how I stop myself from trying to get her to ride more. Is like, okay, well, if I made her ride less, then I'm just feeling bad that she's not riding and doing what she wants to be doing. So it's like, and I don't want that either. I want that even less. So it's just tough, and it's tough sometimes, and it's tough to keep yourself in control. It's easier at times to control that, but then sometimes it's not, and so it's just kind of
Focus on the times it's easier. Okay. Seriously, it's up to each of us to simplify our lives. We simplify our lives with that self awareness, right? Once we identify that fear, that insecurity, we at least have something to work with, because until we notice it, you know, it's just there. The
Mhm.
fear controls us. So each of us bring into us somehow this world, this life, it's like some crazy divine experience, and time brings into our lives the people we need to learn from, the experiences we're supposed to grow from. So that what you said earlier, Jeffrey, about, I think it was you, about you got to get out and ground, right? Did you mention that? Getting
Yeah.
out, grounding with nature, reconnecting, get your mind out of the future tripping and the past recreating. Get out of that. Bring it into the heart of the now. And then the gratitude. Allow yourself to receive the gratitude for those around you, the things you've learned. And I think together, when we start being honest with each other about what we do and do not know, right, we'll be more like the children of God that we were intended to be. We're going to help each other grow and mature into, holy cow, what might humanity come to if they stop gossiping on the news and on.
Good luck.
Yeah. That ain't
Good
gonna
luck on that one, Jack.
happen.
I think it's coming, man. I think it's us. I really do. Like literally. It's starting with the three of us, whatever, and whoever else listens in or joins. Man,
There's more than just three of us.
I know. You know what? Hey, Jeffrey, consider this fact about Paul, okay? With all due respect to him and what he's doing, he spends a lot of time in the midst of this chaos he calls entertainment. So while I'm not exposed to that chaos, I'm off learning about other people that are doing some incredible things right now. I mean, there's some incredible people creating some incredible things, and there's a lot of movements happening. I don't think Paul understands how much hope is out there yet.
Well, what I see is, it's the reason why Paulie really liked the Andy Tate guy. And Paulie's like, I feel like I'm that same guy, because he really does. And Paulie knows that if he keeps running his mouth like he does, at some point he's going to get canceled and it will make him famous. And he doesn't care what he says or how many people he fucks with along the way. He just wants, like someone he wants to trigger the SJW so they make him famous, like it's clear, it's clear because I've dealt, like, all these YouTubers act the same, that's all they care about. They say they don't, they say they don't care about the subscribers and they don't care about having all these people, but it's absolute bullshit. And, if screaming at me and calling my girlfriend ugly, gets me to make some video that actually gets out there, and gets then Paulie could get the Andy Tate crowd that allows him to misbehave. It's the same reason, it's why Z is with Paul, is because Paul allows Z to misbehave. The people on the panel allow Z to misbehave. It's the same reason why so many criminals end up in the libertarian movement, because libertarians don't care about the laws so much. So the criminals are like, oh, these are people I can get away with more with, like they're enabling the bad behavior. And, it's all pretty obvious to me because I've been through it before, because I've had a life experience, and, it baffles me every time I go up there. It's like, dude, like, I get it, you don't care, but like, you could be learning so much right now, it's not even funny, and you could be doing so many things, and instead you're just like fighting with me because whatever slight differences we have, it's like the same two-party paradigm, Democrats versus Republicans, just, oh, this guy's from California and has a man bun and he's vegan, fuck him, so we're just going to choose to go hard on this guy because he embodies the lib, and like the two-party, we're all still so stuck in the two-party paradigm, believing that we have these enemies out here. Like from the get-go, there's all these enemies out here, and it's like once you meet the people, you're like, no, these aren't my enemies. But it's the media, it's the media and the news and the government that teaches us this. They're like, those people are your enemies. And so therefore, anyone you have any difference with is your fucking enemy. Like, that's how it's disseminated over the years. After all this propaganda we've been, bombarded with, Like I have a video where I went up to a newscaster lady and I'm like, you know, you guys realize, you know what media contagion effect is? Like it's a study that's been done, a meta study of like the whole world of the media, and they figure out when you guys report on mass killings go up. You know, so like, what are we to do as the public to stop you? And she just looked at me and was like, no comment. And it's like, exactly, like there's nothing we can do about, you know, having a choice within the political system and all this stuff. It's completely ridiculous because these people who need to self-regulate aren't going to self-regulate. I don't really know where I went with that. I kind of tangented out a little bit there, but yeah, it's you know, you can't just act like you fucking know everything, and you can't, you know, discount when people with more life experience, you know, it's just again, Paulie doesn't have a lot of content, therefore he doesn't care about anyone who has content because he doesn't care about his content. You know, like he doesn't care, and the only reason he doesn't care is because he doesn't. If he had a lot of content, he'd want everyone to see it. You know, that's why he puts his stuff
Right.
out, leaves it up.
So,
Like he wants people to see his content, yet he refuses all content from everyone else, quote unquote, refuses, even
right.
though, you know, he was always like, I've never seen any of your videos, but he would in his rhetoric mention things that I've done or said in my videos. So it was like, no, I know you've been watching my shit. That's why that day he was so worried. He was like, you're gonna catch me at whatever I'm doing wrong. You know, that's basically what he told me the other day. He's like, you're the guy to do it because you go deep on people. Like my videos, you know, like a couple of my videos about bad actors in our community are very good. Like, you know, like I've had nobody, you know, like it's just I go deep because this is something I have, you know, like this whole freedom movement is something I've taken seriously for a very long time. And
Right.
yeah, I'm just learning now to be confident enough to take the plates off my car, but that doesn't mean I'm like, you know, some noob, you know.
Hey,
And yeah, it's been an unusual and disappointing and amusing, and you know, it's more disappointing because I thought we were going to be able to do some really cool shit, but oh well, you know, on to
well,
the next thing.
hold on. Don't. We can influence what we understand. Okay. If we don't understand Paul or what's going on, then there's no way to get through to him. But you understand what's going on, and I understand what's going on. And what he's doing is typical egoic behavior. The
So
ego, the ego rejects opinions that, you know, make it change. His ignoring of the messages, if he would look at the facts that are available, his mind would obviously change, right? But since he doesn't want to allow himself to consider the fact of receiving help and advice and support from someone like Jeffrey or Jack, you know, that's beneath him in his delusions. He's
yeah,
nuts,
so
man.
the whole ego thing. Yes, Paul has a massive ego. You know why I know that? Because I used to have a massive fucking ego, and it takes a kidder to catch a kidder. Like
Right.
I was for 10 years of my life was completely intoxicated with my ego, and I've dealt with it, and I've brought it down to
Oh,
controllable conditions. And so when I see someone who was, you know, where I was at one point, it's like very, very obvious. And he admits it because he has to admit it, because if he didn't admit it, no one would take him serious, you know, because he's so painfully obviously egoic. But you know, that could be, if directed in the right way, that could be, you know, a really useful tool, but most likely, more often than not, it's not directed in the right way.
well, that's the thing. I was kind of the opposite of what I imagined you were, Jeffrey. my ego, I was so insecure. My ego beat the shit out of me. I was so negative, so angry. And that's why I relate to his anger. you, I was never quite as abusive or negative towards people, but my life was different. You know, I was maybe shown mercy where he wasn't. And I was shown different examples. We're all just trying to figure this out together, but I don't know how to communicate with people that don't want to. I mean, Jeffrey, it's like what you were saying. I came in with ideas of sharing support and getting wisdom out to others. What do we do?
It's just like, I hate to go back to like AA rhetoric, but like, we're powerless over people, completely powerless over people. And we need to understand, we need to like acceptance is the key to like understanding that like you don't have power over people. And at a certain point, you just gotta move on, like, once it's what I've noticed the most about Paul's show is the diminishing gains. The first month, I learned so much about, so much information to make me confident. Not that I was already very, very, very confident talking to cops and dealing with police and authority, but I learned enough of my game quite a bit, and then it's just everything's been tapering down. And it's like, okay, the hours are longer, but there's less information and more just kind of toxic bullshit, which I've watched happen for the last 15 years of my life being in this community. And it's not all toxic bullshit. I'm not saying it's all bad. It's just, I just need to give my opinion about things like this, especially when I spend 6 weeks of my life involved with it. And, me and Allie are, I mean, this has been nothing but helping us because we've never been attacked like this. And we've never had, like people threaten our relationship. And I mean, I watched how she reacted and she watched how I reacted. And we're like, we've like regrouped and tightened up. And, it's been like, if that was always Paul's intention, mission accomplished, but he's not making it. It's not a good look for him doing things that way, because the 2 nights ago, that was some crazy shit. Those two just sitting there screaming at us, and the shit they said to Allie, like if Al, like again, and did Allie react to being called ugly and unattractive? Yeah, because it's not fucking true. And these dudes, like don't know us. So like, and then they're reacting to us, not reacting to like we're self-aware enough to know that these things aren't true. And they're calling us narcissists because we aren't crying about these things that are true. It's just, it's real weird.
I understand.
And like the other thing is that Allie, so we, I've been telling Paul like, hey, once at some point me and Allie are going to come up and like blah, blah, blah. Right. And so we had a fight the other day. And Allie hit up Paul for the first time, was like, hey, man, look at this screenshot that Jeff just sent me. Like, we need some help. And it was a screenshot of me being like, babe, we really need to work with like a third party so we can get past like our emotional shit. And, like I've kind of set up like a third party for us on this show. I know it's a show and it's, but like, let's do this. It's what we need to do right now. Like any energy we have should probably go towards this because I've talked a bunch on the show about it. They're waiting for your response. Like, let's do this, and she sent him that. And then all they've done is try and say that it was her idea the whole time and that I'm crazy and that I don't care. And that's why I was asking Paul yesterday, I'm all, why don't you show everyone the screenshot that Allie sent you that says Jeffrey really wants me to come on the show and work things out with him because he's being like, it wasn't your idea. she's like it's all you being careless. You don't care. You have no empathy. You're left-brained. Therefore, you have no empathy, which is one of the most ridiculous things I've ever heard in my life.
I have no brain.
Huh?
I said I have no brain.
But I don't know. And then just watching Paul use more logical fallacies and more loaded questions. Like the more I press him, it's just like, dude, you should just give up right now and just call it, like, throw the towel, because all like, we can stop this right now. I'm completely.
There's plenty of things you can do. You can put the phone down and pay attention to her needs and wants.
This is the exact kind of advice that I needed when I went up there and asked this kind of advice. That's all I needed, was someone to say, pay more fucking attention to her. Put your fucking phone down, it's that easy,
feelings.
Jeffrey,
I'm not saying you gotta get lost in it, but you pay attention to each other, and it takes two to argue. There's no argument if one shuts up. I've been married for 42 years now.
Whoa.
And it hasn't been easy on her. I put her through hell because I drank for 30 years, a bad drunk. And I inflicted all my bullshit upon my family. But they're still with me because they see something there, because I changed. Hey, I put the effort forth.
Hey, Chuck, good for you. Sorry to interrupt, but Jeffrey, I want to point out to you, my friend, look who you asked for relationship advice. The dude who's obviously got daddy issues in the heart of his mom.
I wasn't necessarily asking him for advice. No, I was just asking for the panel to be a third party. Like I wasn't like, oh, you have some knowledge about relationships. He hasn't been in relationships, and whatever he said about relationships is in my opinion completely ridiculous. And it was something that his whole opinion on this, like, oh, you should just date everyone, like, that's how I was, like, and that came an issue for me in my early 30s, where I was like, like really thinking about that stuff. But now I'm 45, and that's not, it's like I just I'm not used to the quite so much religious dogma. I would not consider myself a Christian, obviously. But I believe in a higher power. I believe, stuff. I'm not an atheist, but I'm not so much, like Paul was right about that. I'm not so much of a spiritual guy as Ali is. And so,
well, maybe you need to find your spiritual side.
Maybe. And that's kind of why I'm here. That's kind of why I'm here amongst a bunch of people that I don't feel like I am, because, like, maybe. And if anything, I've learned over the past several years just about, the world in general is, maybe there is a lot more wisdom in the spiritual shit than I gave it credit for in the past. Because I'm starting to come to a couple conclusions on my own that are, clearly rooted in spiritualism, I guess.
Hey, Jack, and this goes for Jeff too. The thing I learned is every time I point at somebody, if you put your hand out there and you point, there's 3 fingers pointing back at me.
Yeah. That's a good one.
So I'm just as guilty as the next. I went to Paul and cleaned up my side of the street because I was going on one-sided information. And by doing that, I was bad-mouthing him. I was bad-mouthing his approach, his channel, and everything. Well, when I got the whole story, I realized I didn't have the whole story. Once I got the whole story, I felt the need to go clean house with Paul. Not with anybody else, but with Paul, because I hadn't harmed anybody else. So I went and cleaned house with Paul.
I haven't seen people hold Paul accountable for his inappropriate behavior.
I'm not here to hold Paul accountable. I'm here to hold myself accountable. If I hold myself accountable, then whatever happens outside of me is their business.
Amen, brother. I agree
I
completely.
don't know if that makes any sense coming from
Chuck,
a hillbilly hick.
what was the bit of information you got that was the whole story, as you say?
Well, apparently Moose was egging on Paul to help put a downside on Moose to try to attract attention to Moose's channel. I'm not 100% sure that's true, but when the dust settled, that's what I gathered.
Okay, so you weren't saying you heard you figured out the whole story on Paul, just the whole story of whatever situation you were upset at him about.
So I went to Moose, I went to Paul, I went to whoever else, and I apologize for what my actions were. I got caught up in the heat of the moment and not realizing that it was a entertainment spectacle that was taking place that went really bad, really, really bad.
Yeah.
And Moose is a good guy. He's struggling. You know, he gave up booze, he gave up dope or weed or whatever you want to call it, and he's struggling. And I hate to see anybody struggle because I've been there. I know what it's like to struggle in life. So my only intent is to try to help, not to hurt. So if I go out of my way to try to hurt somebody else, I'm not doing any good. I'm just falling back into the old bullshit person that I was. If that makes any sense.
It does, man. And you're a good man. I saw your intentions too. And here's my role though.
No, I'm a man trying to take the right path.
I know.
I'm not I'm just trying to treat others as I would treat God.
Yeah. Well, and that's where I'm at. I'm here to hopefully encourage Paul and Z to treat themselves a little better, to show themselves as better, more respectful men rather than the abusive bullies that they've chosen to present as quote unquote entertainment.
I think a big part of it though is almost Paulie hasn't slept in a month. You know? I know I don't see what he does outside of his show, but in the few hours he has not on the show or not not sleeping, I don't understand how he's going outside, getting exercise. I think
he's not. He said he stays in that trailer because he doesn't
he's smoking blunts all day in a trailer, nonstop, not taking care of his body, and eventually your mind starts breaking down when you keep that cycle up. And like me and Allie are, cyclists, endurance cyclists, and we're very in tune with that type of thing.
Like, she's the cyclist, you're not.
No,
you've already made that clear.
She's just a bit more of a cyclist than me. I do races and beat people half my age races. I'm still I'm definitely a cyclist. She's just very much more serious than I am about it. But I'm hopefully a cyclist. But she, we are very health conscious, and like I've been in that position before, and I know it started affecting me. And like the second, once I started once Paulie started doing like 20-hour shows, I was like, dude, this dude's breaking down. And then when me and Allie went on the show the other day to talk, and everyone was interrupting us, and we left. The next day, Paulie's like, oh, I was like half asleep. I don't even remember what happened. So you're doing your show half asleep, where you can't moderate your group. Like Allie hit him up and been like, can you make a space for me on the show to do this? Because it's hard for me to go up on your show. And so Paulie's like, yeah. And he's hitting us back. Yeah, come up on the show. And then completely ignores us and lets, idiots talk over us so much that we leave. And then the next day, he gives a not even a like you couldn't even say it was an apology. It was just we're all learning here. I don't even know what was going on. And then Z came up and was like, my bad, that was my fault. And it's like, dude, so Paul, you can't even apologize when clearly like you fucked up something, you know? And it was almost like that started, like it just started off wrong, that whole thing. And but like, you know, like it's a madhouse up there. And like if you know, I don't know. It's just strange. And I'm not, you know, like I'm not like, oh, I'm disrespected, but I'm feeling disrespected. And that's why it's like, okay, well, this is kind of you know, this is the diminishing gains again, where I'm like, okay, well, this is starting to be a waste of time. You know, like it's fun and amusing in a little bit, and it's a little sociology experiment. But at this point, it's like, you know, it's like just pure disrespect all the time. Like I don't have respect for that, you know. Just like I told Z, he presented himself in a bad way to me, therefore I never respected him. That's why I fucking jump all over his shit all the time, because I don't fucking respect him. And I gave him a chance to fix things with me, and he didn't take it. So, you know.
But here's where we live today.
Yeah.
So resolve is in the future. So how do we find resolve and make the best out of the time that we've committed to that social experiment?
I was personally, I was going to go on Z's show today, but things just got busy. But I was just going to talk to you about him there, apart from Polly, because they don't influence each other in a good direction. And I was going to, you know, attempt to resolve our issue one more time. And that's what I intend to do at some point when I have the time. But I'm not, you know, I'm not like, oh, fuck it, Z, I hate Z. Like I said, like Z, actually, I would probably get along quite well with the guy. Like when he came at me all like, I think you judged me. You wouldn't even fucking, and I was just like, I don't know, dude, you don't know me at all. Like I'm a pretty fucking friendly guy, you know, and especially with people that are like-minded. You know, yeah, I'm an asshole on the internet about certain subjects, but like, you know, you got me completely wrong. You know, like you're painting me out to be how I was when I was like 30, you know, where I was like that, you know, and I did, you know, all that stuff did get to my head for a long time. And I did question whether the fact I was going to be able to love someone again. And I've like, that shit's long in the past now. So it's just funny to watch a bunch of people kind of like assume and just never ask a question so much, and just be so confident about their assumptions when I'm a complete open book, you know, and like, you know, open and willing, you know, if you actually, you know, like, and if you're going to come at me with assumptions, I'm not going to respect that. And I'm not going to play the game, you know, like I'm not going to just be, oh, since Polly and Z told me I'm a narcissist, I'm going to just admit I'm a narcissist. Like, that's just not how it works. It's not therapy. It's not psychology. Like Z keeps saying he's a doctor and he's been trained, but they don't say you should do things like that. Like this is all some sort of like some technique Polly wants to like the whole tough love thing. Polly wants to like Elon Musk. He doesn't invent anything. He just takes things from the past and makes them new. Like I don't know what he's trying to do, but he wants like success stories quite a bit.
I do know quite a bit. Okay. What we've got here is an example of ego. It's narcissism. It's a confused man. And I honestly think it's time for an intervention. Okay.
That's funny. Yeah.
I'm not lying, man.
Just you use that word with Ali about this situation. But not in that way. I felt like I feel like I'm being a bunch of people that don't know me are doing an intervention on me, you know, and it's like, that's not how interventions work. You need a bunch of people that know you to do an intervention. you know, and that's exactly what's going on the show. But Paulie doesn't get that. He thinks he knows everyone and everything about everyone.
Hey, that's what I wanted to point out. The human ego, it thinks its opinions are more important than reality. Okay, think about that for just a minute.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
People think thoughts are more important than what is real.
Yeah.
That's what Paul is doing. He thinks his opinions are more important than the human body of Jeffrey or the human body of Jack. He doesn't give a shit about what is really real in life. That's why I keep asking him, dude, is this real? I mean,
it is, dude. I agree. I mean, you can't tell. I can't tell you how many times I just like would be watching the show and I'd be like, Allie, like, what is this? You know, like, and even like she was on the show the other day at work with her aunt, right? And the next day, her aunt was like, "What was that? Like, are you doing that again today?" But like in a very in a very inquisitive, like interested kind of way. She's like, "What is this thing you're doing that you're like talking so deeply with these people on this show?" Like it's definitely interesting. But yeah, people conjecture, and people, you know, they just whatever they think is real, and that's kind of like I'm always battling these people being, no, actually what's real is real, what you think is most likely wrong, you know, or inaccurate. Not saying everyone knows nothing and I know everything, but it's just I feel like my usually when I'm arguing or debating with someone, it's someone who's, you know, it's someone who's battling their own thoughts that aren't necessarily rooted in reality.
I'm sorry, I allowed myself to get distracted by a comment for a second, but hey, it's this is an interesting, serious, this whole situation with this local truther community. It's a fascinating distraction, but it can be used somehow, some way for something great. Okay.
It's supposed to be a home base for us to be going and doing outreach, but that's not what people do. They just do they just do this. It's, you know, it's the whole anarcho festivals. It's like, dude, you people do this every year, but you don't do anything else, and all you're doing is preaching to each other. You know, you're not doing any outreach. And that's kind of like what I was going to Paul with, like, hey, you know, you're just doing infield baseball with nobodies when you could be doing outreach and changing people's lives like how you want to, you know, but like, it's just, you know, maybe he doesn't have the ability to, you know, like, like he definitely has the ability to say a bunch of fancy sounding shit. But like, does he have the ability to live the way he says he lives? You know, there's something about these YouTubers. They do not, like, at least most I'd say all the YouTubers I've met. I haven't met Paul, but I have met are not, and I'm talking like Liberty Movement people, cycling people, any people I've met that are YouTubers. They are not the person they are on their body of content, and they are not the person they claim to be when they say, I do this, I do that, I do this, I do that. People do this to me. People fucking, you know, they're most likely they're projecting where they wish they would be, not exactly where they're at the moment. And I think that's definitely going on in this case.
People are living in their heads and not in what is real. They tell themselves, we're all susceptible to it. We all deceive ourselves with different things.
Yeah.
Hey, and if I can go on with the spirit talk for this Andy Tate guy, I don't claim to be able to see spirits or energies, but like Chuck said, man, I believe there's like dark entities and spirits that can affect us. Okay. And I also recognize that our human consciousness is stuck in this paradigm of good and evil. light and dark, right? Masculine, feminine. It's all in our heads.
Yeah. Yeah. It
but,
is.
But the thing is what I believe is that we're all of us right now, all around the world, we're like going through this shift in this awakening of our consciousness, and people are learning about different things through the technologies, through the, other people have been studying history, studying the truth, and sharing it through the technologies of today. So people are waking up. Many people, like Paul's channel, they're very awake and aware of the lies of government and the economics and religions, but they're stuck in dark energies of judgment and fighting and this illusion of war and enemies. The insecure imagine enemies, right?
Yeah.
And the deceived go obey and fight the wars.
It's the enemy images again. Marshall Rosenberg, NBC, like it's all in your head, and and then what you present is also, like they say, like, oh, well, this is how you're presenting. Yeah, that there is some truth to that, but I don't think that. I think we all know who the one is presenting themselves as someone who has a lot of things to work on.
Hey, brother, I got to admit, I think I misread your comfort, your confidence. I actually think I misread that as a weakness as well. But
a lot of people do, man.
Well, that's what Paul and the others on that platform, they've embraced kind of the alpha, strong, masculine stereotype. But this comfort in our being, if you want to call it the feminine energy of acceptance and grounding, it's wisdom, dude. It's wise not to be all caught up in that drama. Right?
It's draining. You're letting people steal energy from you. Why would you let other people steal energy from you, especially if those people's intentions are bad and they're using information that isn't accurate? Like, right. I know I'm looping on this, but I keep figuring out other ways of explaining it that are like, it's like.
Jeffrey, that's it. I'm accused of looping, and I'm just trying to explain the same things different ways.
Yeah.
And it's like,
because it's like you figured out that's the, it's like this is the main problem, that we're having right here, and I gotta try and make everyone understand it, and so it's like it's been interesting, and it's been a growing experience.
It really has, Jeffrey, but it's been enlightening. Okay.
Like, even like all this shit with Paul, like I see this as a friendly rivalry. That may not happen this way. Paul might not be friendly towards me. Who knows? These guys, I always know these guys send their minions against me, and it's fun, But like, it's a friendly rivalry to me, until he actually, does or attempts something that is like, I don't know, not even that. It's always going to be a friendly rivalry, and like the minute any of these guys is like, hey, my bad, whatever, dude, let's squash this, I'm fucking down, but up until that point, like, I'm gonna have fun with it.
You know what? I've given up. I actually, with Paul, I tried the aggressive ego part, but I don't think that'll ever work with him. And the submissive, that you can be too submissive and he'll look down on it. But I think the calm energy, I already know I'm in Paul's head, right? And I actually already know I'm in his heart. He doesn't know what to do with someone like me or you, Jeffrey. So we're kind of in this similar boat. But brother, this life is an adventure. I mean, dude, you're living in RV, friggin' traveling with a lady that's cool, right?
Yeah. And you think I'd go up on a panel and people be like, "How are you doing that? I want to do that," you know?
I'm
No,
interested. Yeah.
no, they're like, "Oh, she's hot. Let's try and steal her from him." And that was before they even knew she was smart. You know, she hadn't even said a word up here yet, and these two dudes are fucking in love with her already. And she comes up and opens her mouth, and they're like, "Oh shit!" And Paul's literally admitting on his show that he loves her and he has a connection with her, and all this crazy shit. And we're just like, "Is this happening? Is this real?" Because like this is stuff. Usually, people hide this behavior. Even the narcissists I've known hide this behavior. They don't want it to get out. They'll tell me about it because they feel like, you know, like. But they usually hide this shit. So it's just wild to see someone openly do it in public. But like I said, I think he's a shock jock. He's trying to get popular by saying the craziest shit. And he doesn't really care who he fucks with along the way to getting to that whatever his goal is. He's not going to ever admit that having followers is a goal, but it's his goal. He talks about it all the fucking time.
Hey, you reminded me what I was trying to say about that Andy Taint guy is he's a false light. You know,
oh yeah, for sure.
He's presenting wisdom. Apparently there is wisdom in his stuff. Otherwise people wouldn't fall for it. But he's promoting this materialistic, this toxic masculinity. And so, I mean, I pointed that out to Paul, and it was a trigger to him that, you know, when he was promoting Andy and then some other guy he mentioned, it's like they're the false light, man. What
obviously, anyone who gets that much of attention is up there for a reason. There's an agenda by him, and there's a divisive agenda there's a divisive psyop going on us all the time. They want it split down. They want this country split down the fucking middle. People fighting with each other. Taint is the perfect. He's the best psyop we've had for the perfect guy to drive so many people crazy. Like, you know, Milo Yiannopoulos, he was one of these guys that they make popular. He wasn't the right guy. Jordan Peterson wasn't really quite the right guy. Taint, though, is like the right guy to get all these goobers that just just, you know, start a divisive conversation that just you know, keeps people believing that we need government, we need police, because we disagree so much that we need government. You know, like we need the police to save us from our neighbors that we disagree with one thing on. You know, and it's completely based in bullshit. And what people don't understand is that the government's gone. You know, the government's gone, the media's gone. We don't have the media telling us our neighbors are enemies. You know, we start meeting our neighbors and meeting the people in the next city over, and we're like, oh, these people aren't so bad. Everybody's been telling us these people are awful and they're our enemies. And then we're like, why are we paying all our taxes to a government? You know, like, why would we pay all our taxes to something that's just doing harm? You're guaranteed bad actors when you have the government. But when the government's gone and their bad actors are gone and all their bad laws are gone, you start to see there aren't that many bad actors. And the community, the men in the community that aren't depending on the state to deal with all their problems, will find far better ways to deal with bad actors than the state ever will. The state double victimizes us. Someone punches you in the face, you take them to court, they throw them in jail, then you have to pay tax dollars to house that guy in court. You're getting double victimized. So, you know, like, all this stuff. And this is the kind of anarchy stuff I like talking about. And I know anarchy now Paul and Z are making fun of anarchists all the time now, but someone wrote me something the other day where they were just like, you know, Paulie doesn't respect your vegan arguments because it shows that you are more serious about his ideals than he is, or something like that. But it was like, oh, perfect. That's actually exactly what's going on there. Where it's like, oh, you and your vegan stuff. And it's like, what are you talking about? You back me up every time when I talk about veganism. Like, you back me up, but then Jake told me Paul was an anarchist and a vegan. And that's half the reason why I went to the show. I was like, oh, this guy knows what's up. And he's got a little following together. But then the more I've been on the show, I'm like, oh, you guys are minarchists for the most part. And Paulie eats pizza all day, but he has this sick vegan rhetoric that's some of the best vegan rhetoric I've heard in a long time, not coming out of my own mouth. So it's all been really confusing, Jack. It's all been really confusing and slightly disappointing, but you can't, every day is a learning experience. And this week has been a lot of learning.
Hey, don't let it be confusing. Let it be simple. Okay. Let the truth be true. And here, it's interesting you mentioned Jordan Peterson. I did a video a long time ago, and I hope to speak to that man. He doesn't, as I understand, he's dealing with his own shit of addiction. Dude, I understand that. He helped me understand my mind, and my mind helped me understand my spirit.
Yeah. So, and it takes someone with that's dealing with those problems to be able to, and that's like what I was saying earlier, like you can't, I see Paul for his ego because I used to have that ego. Jordan Peterson was able to speak to you because he has that same problem that you're having. You can't help people if you don't have the experience on your own. You can repeat a bunch of things, you can say a bunch of words. It's like when Adam, I know I'm looping back to Adam a lot, but when Adam admitted to me that he was a narcissist, oh damn it, I just lost that thought. It'll pop back in a second. Yeah, shoot.
Well, there's many examples of people who have a lot of wisdom and talents, but they've been deceived by the materialistic, by the fame and the celebrity. Did one of us freeze or just you?
Oh, I remember what I was saying. Oh, you said that when I said the experience, right? Adam as a narcissist, I woke him up.
You're roboting bad.
Oh, shoot. Is it really bad?
It kind of is. Your image is gone. We lost a connection there pretty.
Okay, I'll come back.
All right, please. Wait, there you are.
Am I still here?
Yeah.
Okay.
Now you're back.
So Adam was like he's a diagnosed narcissist, and he told me about it early on. But I found Marshall Rosenberg and nonviolent communication during that time, which really I resonated a lot with because I wasn't the greatest communicator, and I saw this as being a lot of answers to my problems and a lot of answers to the world's problem. And yes. When Adam got out of jail, I was like, hey, dude, this is the shit we're going to end the wars with, right? And so he was like, okay, well, if you say that, and I showed him the nonviolent communication stuff, but he doesn't have empathy. And without empathy, you can't do nonviolent communication. And so he got really excited about nonviolent communication, and he went on a bunch of TV shows and debated a bunch of people. And he posted a bunch of videos saying nonviolent communication deployed, and like I'd go, oh shit, dope. Like Adam's still talking about this stuff. That's really good. And I go and watch it, and he's not doing NVC. I see him trying, but the problem is he doesn't have that element's missing. So it falls flat when he tries to do it. And it's just like, it's the same thing. It's like, unless you have the experience, you can talk about it all day, but you can't, you're just blowing hot air. And experience is very valuable, dude. Like you can't just invalidate everyone's life experiences. And, I don't know. I could loop all day, on this stuff, but, it's all been really amusing.
Jeffrey, what you said. Yeah, dude, in my past, when I heard Dr. Jordan Peterson, when I heard him standing up for the freedom of speech in Canada, I went
Yeah.
through a rapid awakening to the lies of our society. Um, when I heard his words on the importance of truth and the freedom of speech, my mind went to the people in China, right? I was thinking, God, his words, he needs to be heard at the UN.
Yeah.
And then I later I learned of Dr. Rosenberg, the nonviolent communication, and dude, I had the same thoughts. This is what we
Yeah.
need. If the people in the government can't figure out how to end wars, they need to get the hell out of our way.
Mm-hmm.
We know how to negotiate and to communicate the end of this.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you for that.
So, brother, and you know what you described of that other guy using the knowledge, that's what I see in Paul. He's got the wisdom, but he contradicts the spirituality that he talks. And only he can resolve his own contradictions. All of us. You know what?
Yeah.
This one man is an example for all of us.
Yes, we have to work on our own stuff. We can't just work on other people's stuff and ignore our stuff.
Amen.
That's it.
We've got to overcome our contradictions and our own confusion. And that's where we can help each other with open and honest reflection rather than this projecting our insecurities, projecting this nonsense, right?
It's so obvious when people are projecting. They don't understand how obvious it is. And even, yeah, like it's really, really painfully obvious when people project and they think that it's not,
I never realized how obvious it was until I started watching
your video.
Watching myself doing it, right?
Yeah, you were doing it a lot. That's what I pointed out to you. I was like, man, you know what's going on. You're just so focused on, what people are saying. It just seemed like you were like really upset that people weren't understanding you. Like you had the reaction I didn't. Like I had a different reaction, but it affected them the same way. It was really weird. Like it's like, and that tells me that there's no way you can present yourself in a way that they won't treat you like that. Especially if you're sticking up for yourself. That's a thing. They want you to just sit down there and shut up in the chat and bring new, like they just want to, they want you to be a yes man and you're not being a yes man. So they're mad,
like Luke.
Even though we're here kind of being yes men, like we're here supporting him and we're trying to support him. But like, I don't know, like I'm the guy, like how I presented myself to him, I started actively doing what he needs people to do. And like, I'm the guy you're nice to, like I'm the dude you should be nice to and not like plant these strange seeds and attack in these strange ways. Like it's just weird and, it's his loss.
Well, so far it has been, but it's not just his loss. It's the other people he could connect with.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. That's where the lack of,
and it's the people he's losing because they're seeing him do what he's doing to us. People are, whoa, dude, did you? He was deleting comments. I was watching him delete comments and block people yesterday out of the chat. Dude, people that are like solid followers of his, that are like nice, good people, he blocked from the chat because they were supporting me and Allie. Blocking
Jeffrey
and deleting people. Like that's
Jeffrey, as much as my name,
it's not a sign of confidence, is what I'm saying.
No, exactly. And here, as much as my name and image come up on that damn show, he has me blocked from chat.
Yeah.
And I'm like, are you friggin' kidding me? The only way,
I
can really interact is to go up.
No, I was so confused about who you were for like 3 weeks watching that show. Why are everyone talking about Talcott all day? Who is this Talcott guy? And I got, that's why I looked at your YouTube and I'm like, well, he's got, he's got like 80, it's not like you were some big truth or other guy and they're like really upset. It's like, no, you're just a guy that comes up on the panel that,
But
I don't know. I was trying to figure things out, but I was like, who is Talcott? So for a while, I thought Talcott was Harlow because they were talking, because Harlow was talking, and he was muted. And when I came to the show, so I thought everyone was talking about him, but they were talking about you. They weren't even focusing on him. And I was like, what is going on here? And then I was like talking to Harlow, and Harlow was responding to me, but he wasn't talking to anyone else. And I was so confused, dude. I was like, I do not, like, did I just take a crazy pill? Like, this seems like an insane asylum here. Like, but, it's not. It's not in the least bit. It's a bunch of people, seeking community. And it just so happens that some of us are a little more traumatized than others,
Jeffrey,
we've experienced more.
This is evidence of the state of our society at this time in history. I'm not proud of what I'm seeing on that platform. I'm not.
It's not great. I was showing, I was on. I mean, honestly, I this last month I went crazy promoting him, and like I got some people, but a lot of people hit me up and they were like, honestly, I don't know why you're like, out of everything that you promote, why are you pushing this on people? And I was like, oh, you just don't get it. You got to watch it more, and it's like, that's true, but it also isn't really true because it's not really saying anything. Yeah, you do have to watch it more to quite understand what's going on. But like, yeah, I don't really know anymore. And especially since Paul changed. And it might just be Paul needs to fucking sleep for a week, or something like that so he can get back in his head. But the other day, that when he was all, oh, I was tired, I don't even know what happened. It's like, so you were tired and not knowing what was going on when we were supposed to have like a therapy session that Ali like hit you up about. And then he starts, then everything that Ali told him, he disregarded and just made some shit up. But I'm looping again. So
he lied to himself is what happened, because there was a connection and there was facts revealed that had he considered would have proven him wrong. But rather than accept the facts like a man, rather than humble himself to what is true, he wants to try and gaslight and manipulate. He convinces himself of his lies. Oh, I don't remember. Oh, bullshit. What are you, 6? So he's looping in the past because he's not resolved the past. And it's a common psychological symptom in our society, right?
Mm-hmm.
Grounding into now, into today. You've got to want to wake up out of your head. But hey, you mentioned that my name, you're like, who the hell's this Jack guy? And you're right. You know what? But I'm the only one who believes what I believe. But I believe God has been preparing me, my real life experience, whatever this is. I've been prepared, and there's opportunities for us to totally transform this world, man. In a week, we could have a brand new world.
We could end the wars in a week.
That's right. We were talking about that off air, man.
Yeah.
If people would wake the hell up, start working together, sharing knowledge, building communities with each other, capturing the talents, right? Capture the talents of those who are around us.
Yeah.
Paul,
Yep. I think we bonded on that. I think, when I was like, I'm an anti-war activist, that's all I want to do. But I keep caught up in all this bullshit. Like, I'm so down to do anti-war shit with you, and get together a group of people that also that's a priority for. Because that's why I started all this. You know, even like before I had a kid, like it was stop the wars, and then it was like when I had kids, it motivated me even more. You know, so it was like, you know, and that's why I got by the Luke Radowskis and the Adam Kokeshes and worked with them for years, was to stop the wars. But all they wanted to do was loop on bullshit and do narcissist shit. You know,
Jeffrey, I think it's
they couldn't handle the fame they got, you know, but I already went through not handling the fame I had. So I saw them doing it. It's like, dude, you got to work on this now or it's going to kill you. You know, like dudes don't, you know, like that's like the Hollywood story. A guy gets in a band, you know, the band breaks up, the guy ends up overdosing or something, like, you know, like I had to go deal with a lot of shit to get where I am now. And, you know, yeah. So it's not just, you know, like I'm not like in denial about where I'm at. And I'm not working on what I'm doing, you know, and myself. I'm always constantly working on myself. And it's just funny to have someone, you know, just like be all, I care. No, you're not working on yourself. You're a psycho, you know, and it's just like, okay. So let's see where this goes, because this is funny because, like, you know, yeah.
It's been fascinating, Jeffrey, but I'm looking for where is my time better spent?
Yeah.
You know, I got a lot of people that supposedly are going to reach out to me, so I spend a lot of time waiting.
Yeah. No,
so
you're like me. Like you're like me. You're like, let's podcast now. Like I'm down to do stuff now. I don't want to wait. And that was like always the problem with these guys. I get around them. I'm all, let's go do this, and they're like, maybe next year. And I'm like, no, now. Like,
dude,
people are dying, you assholes.
Yes, dude,
it's not like people are dying. Like,
and it's not just that. Shit, we could die today. We don't know. So if we're going to live today is where we make shit happen. Right? This restreaming and gossiping and what the hell? I mean, seriously, this apparently exists. So if this exists in what is distracting from the truth being shared, what do we do? Do we just walk away and ignore it, or do we? I mean, like I said, I'm ready for an intervention, but can't do it alone. One person against that doesn't work.
Well, I don't think we actually know enough about him to do an intervention, I think is what I'm saying. You know, and
I know enough to trust him and his heart. His intentions are good. His intentions are good. I believe that. And Z. Shoot, Jeffrey, did you freeze up again? Hey, you know what? If this gets restreamed to Paul and Z, seriously, get the hell out of your heads. Start humbling yourselves to what you do not know. And not just you two, anyone who's listening. Humble yourself to what you do not know so you can discover what you might be able to accomplish. I don't know. I came on this online stuff to try and build community, not to get mocked and insulted and made fun of. But you know what? This is the path that God has placed me on. And, you know, it's up to us to stop believing. Stop believing God is absent. Start believing that God is with you. The truth is on our side. And when we come together, man, when humans come together with the right purpose and the right intentions, the right talents and skills, holy shit, life is fun, right?
No, dude. I mean, I know I'm talking about this Adam guy a lot, but when we were actually doing stuff, that was some of the best times I've ever had in my life. Like when we were actually working on things and working together, we were like, we had people surrounding us that were positive, that were super excited about what we were doing, you know, and it was like the best feeling in the world. You know, but people self-sabotage, you know, so it's unfortunate.
Jeffrey, that's what I want to see, and that's what you know, I do. I I secured the trademark of Live Without Fear. I hope to build and promote that brand. I've got a website. I got a couple of websites I haven't done crap with because I don't know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
But you know, Paul wants to judge me because of what I haven't accomplished without seeing what he doesn't know what I've accomplished.
Oh, what I've noticed recently, so in the last year, I think my content on YouTube has gotten a lot better. But I've been doing YouTube for a lot of time. And in the past, like I bought, you know, it's like, it doesn't matter how many websites or YouTube videos you have or followers you have. Like if you're doing good content, it goes out, you know, whether you have 1 subscriber or 1,000,000 subscribers. Because I've had, like, and especially in YouTube, like, I've been at the helm of a YouTube channel with 700,000 followers. You know, I've been at, like, you lived with it for years. And if I put out crap, no one fucking saw it, you know? Literally, like, no one sees it. That they're like, the whole subscriber count is a complete myth. Like, it's all about how good your content is. And now that I've been making better content and being consistent at it, I'm getting, you know, like several thousand views on like a lot of my views, you know, and it's going from, it used to get like under 100 to, you know, only about 300, and then now I'm getting into 3,000, and I have videos that have 65,000, you know, but like, it just matters about the content quality. You know, like my video is 60, like videos that are up in the 65,000 range, like they're videos about the band I used to be in. That's content a lot of kids want, you know, and it didn't matter that I put that up when I had 500 subscribers, you know, and it got 65,000 views because the content was good. Subscriber count does not matter. Your website doesn't matter. None of it matters if your message is good and the content you put out is good. None of that shit matters. My advice, at least to you as like a social media guy, is just keep doing what you're doing. And like I said earlier, just I love that your cadence is back, Jack. You don't talk so slow anymore. It's so, like I told you, when I told you, I was like, dude, honestly, if you talked faster, I was being so honest. And I was like, that was like the best advice. Cause like the second he turned you up on the thing, you sounded so much more listenable. And then what did Paulie do? He puts you up and puts you at half speed. Because I said, look, Jack is so much more listenable at faster speed. So Paulie went, fuck that. I'm going to put him at half speed and make it even worse than what Jeffrey just said.
Oh, man. Jeffrey, you froze up again.
Yeah. You came on the show the other day and you like smiled and laughed. And me and Allie were like, that's a different Jack. And it just seemed like, you know, it was like, oh, and then that video, I got a link, or I subscribed to you, so it showed me a little notification, Jack, and me and Allie were like, oh, I want to see this, because he was in a different mood yesterday, and that video was so good, and your cadence was so good, and everything. Just keep doing that shit, and don't worry about your subscribers. Don't worry about, you know, whatever. Just keep doing the videos, and keep doing it, and keep being yourself. Keep being yourself, you know, like, just be yourself. I could tell all that shit I saw, you coming on the show, everyone arguing, like, I could tell you were a cool dude. You were just hung up on something, you know, and that was it. Like, you've obviously figured out what that was this week somehow. And I'm
My
glad. I'm very makes me very happy to see you smiling genuinely. You know, not smiling sarcastically.
Thank you, Jeffrey. You know what? I genuinely do appreciate that. I'm getting more comfortable being me again.
Yeah, it
Um,
seems like it.
I used to have my issue my whole life was anger, and Paul helped me
Yeah.
grow. He showed me more anger that I could confront within myself.
Mm-hmm.
So he helped me grow and learn, and I respect him. And you know what? He's at least made my name a little more known.
Yeah. No, I think I went to your YouTube and I was like, for how much these guys talk about him, his YouTube should be bigger.
Right, right. You would think I'd get some results from this, but not yet. Hey,
But I
Jeffrey,
don't think you were in the right headspace. The last 20 videos, 30 videos you've done, I don't think you were in the right headspace. And now I think you got it back. And I think that you'll be able to do what you want to do now. Or I hope, you know.
I
But
agree. Hey,
I
Jeffrey,
think that's gonna, you know.
hey, brother, we've been going a couple hours. It sounds like it's being watched, and it sounds like it's being restreamed and seen. So hopefully our words
I
will be
saw him watch it
considered.
for a minute and I saw it go away,
Hey,
which is kind of funny.
let's wrap this up,
Yeah,
okay? And do this. We'll talk again soon, brother.
cool,
This has
bro.
been fun. I like getting to know you. You're a pretty cool dude. So
Awesome, man. We'll do this
for those,
again soon.
yeah, for those who tune in, thank you very much. Check out Jeffrey Phillips, and God bless. Have a good night. Live without fear. Just choose to love, man. Choose to love.